Shemite. It is the language of the Caucasian White Hebrew descendants of Royal Shem. The Caucasian White Hebrew Junior Royal Japhet speaks as well. Starting Genesis chapter 9, verse 20 through 27, chapter 10, verse 1 through 5, verse 10 through 22, chapter 11, verse 1, verse 10 through 32, chapter 13, verse 5 through 6, verse 14 through 16, chapter 14, verse 13, chapter 15, verse 15 through 21, Joshua chapter 10, verse 40, chapter 11, verse 1 through 21, verse 23, chapter 12, verse 1 through 24, chapter 21, verse 43 through 45, Genesis chapter 16, verse 1 through 14, chapter 17, verse 1 through 9, chapter 23, verse 6, chapter 24, verse 60, Exodus chapter 19, verse 5 through 6, Numbers chapter 24, verse 17, Genesis chapter 25, verse 1 through 34, chapter 49, verse 1 through 32, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1 through 25, chapter 8, verse 18, chapter 12, verse 4 through 5, chapter 18, verse 9 through 20, chapter 20, verse 15 through 18, Judges chapter 4, verse 5 through Judges chapter 4, verse 4 through 5, Psalm chapter 2, verse 1 through 4, chapter 72, verse 7 through 8, verse 14, Psalm 110, verse 4, Psalm 139, verse 14, Psalm 147, verse 19 through 20, Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 2, Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 24, Ezra chapter 9 through 10, Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 1 through 31, 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verse 23 through 24, 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verse 1, chapter 7, verse 17, 2 Chronicles chapter 7, 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 15 through 16, Isaiah chapter 10, verse 12 through 14, chapter 11, verse 1 through 7, verse 12, Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1 through 6, Isaiah chapter 19, verse 23 through 25, chapter 24, verse 5, verse 24, Isaiah chapter 52, verse 13 through 15, 53, Isaiah chapter 53, verse 11, Isaiah chapter 49, verse 19 through 20, Isaiah chapter 61, verse 1 through 2, Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 5, chapter 48, verse 47, chapter 49, verse 6, verse 39, chapter 50, verse 4 through 7, chapter 51, verse 36, Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 1 through 19, Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 23 through 24, Daniel chapter 2, verse 37 through 45, chapter 7, verse 13 through 14, verse 27, chapter 8, verse 25, Hosea chapter 7, verse 8 through 10, chapter 4, verse Hosea chapter 8, verse 4, Micah chapter 4, verse 1 through 3, verse 8, Malachi chapter 3, verse 3, Malachi chapter 4, verse 2, Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 12, chapter 3, verse 9, Zechariah chapter 6, verse 12 through 13, chapter 12, verse 10, chapter 14, verse 9, chapter 14, verse 21, Matthew chapter 4, verse 21 through 25, chapter 5, verse 17, verse 19, Matthew chapter 10, verse 1 through 6, Luke chapter 6, verse 15, Matthew chapter 8, verse 5 through 9, verse 13, Matthew chapter 13, verse 24 through 28, verse 39, Matthew chapter 24, Matthew chapter 15, verse 24, verse 31, John chapter 1, verse 1, verse 12, verse 14, verse 29, chapter 4, verse 22, chapter 9, verse 1 through 38, chapter 14, verse 15, verse 24, Acts chapter 5, verse 34 through 39, Luke chapter 19, verse 41 through 44, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 through 9, Colossians chapter 2, verse 8, Galatians chapter 2, verse 17, Genesis chapter 33, verse 4 through 7, Judges chapter 12, verse 5 through 6, Acts chapter 1, verse 6 through 8, Acts chapter 2, verse 5 through 10, chapter 15, verse 1 through 5, chapter 16, verse 1 through 4, chapter 21, verse 18 through 40, chapter 22, verse Acts chapter 22, verse 1 through 2, Acts chapter 26, verse 14, Romans chapter 11, verse 1, chapter 15, verse 12, 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14 through 16, 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17, chapter 10, verse 4 through 5, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, Revelation chapter 1, verse 8, chapter 3, verse 21, chapter 5, verse 1 through 5, chapter 15, verse 2 through 3, Revelation chapter 21, verse 12 through 14, and so on. Beware of the tearing of the vulture, the demonic spirit of the Antichrist world order. It is evil agenda. It is infiltrating, promoting in various parts of planet Earth. As it is noted about in Matthew chapter 13, verse 24 through 28, verse 39. And things being so, Caucasian white Hebrew language is the original language in which the then sinful Eve as well as the sinful Adam had been communicating with each other. It is also the language, the original language, Elohim, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, the God of Shem, our hero Messiah Yeshua. The Almighty God had ordered the then sinful Adam. Adam is a Caucasian white Hebrew name, which means human being. Newton's commandment in Genesis chapter 2, verse 17, verse 19, and it is also by which the demonic spirit of the Antichrist world order the vulture, which came in the form of a snake to their then Garden of Eden, and brainwashed and caused them to commit sin. And as noted in Genesis chapter 3, verse 2 through 19, had communicated with. And the things being so, it is the reason why human beings started dying physical deaths, as well as having committed sin, living in sin, suffering in hell, physical sickness, suffering and dying because of it, hard labor, all of it. The earth is cursed because of them, because they bought into the devil, which is the Bodo demonal, Yushab, Shamans, and Tres, Advarches, and so on. And so this in various masks, whether religious or not, disguised as well. So things we saw, suffering in hell, started Psalm chapter 9, verse 17, Matthew chapter 25, verse 41, Mark chapter 9, verse 43 through 44, Luke chapter 10, and Luke chapter 16, verse 23 through 24, Revelation chapter 20, verse 10 through 15. And the things we saw, some of the currently available Shemite languages are Arabic, so-called Arabic, Elamite, Iranian, Hebrew, Scandinavian languages, English, Irish, Celtic languages, Germanic languages, Italian, French, Greek, Slavic languages, and so on. As well as there is a Shemite language, his Melchizedek Dr. Mekwadge, at the din Mekwadge, na the tomorrow is Melchizedek Dr. Doshimeram, the din Mekwadge, Mek Mekugitaunadge, the tomorrow is Melchizedek Dr. Doshimeram, I speak. It is comprised of Arabic, Hebrew, maybe there may be some Elamite thing, I'm not sure, and some Caucasian white Hebrew, descendants of Royal Shem languages is comprised thereof, and this is a Shemite language. So that's it. His Melchizedek Mekwadge, and by the guidance of the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, the God of Shem, his Melchizedek Dr. Mekwadge, the din Mekwadge, Mek Mekugitaunadge, the tomorrow his Melchizedek Dr. Doshimeram. And so by the guidance of the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, the God of Shem, our hero Messiah Yeshua, and the Almighty God connected the disconnected Caucasian Hebrew descendants of white Hebrew descendants of Royal Shem languages. Once for all, I have hereby connected them divinely. I am his Melchizedek Dr. Mekwadge, the din Mekwadge, Mekugitaunadge, Mek, the tomorrow his Melchizedek Dr. David Shem Adam, the Caucasian white Hebrew Supreme Royal, the descendant of the Caucasian white Hebrew Royal Shem, Royal Asur, Royal Arphaxad, Royal Abraham, Royal Isaac, Royal Jacob Israel, Royal Judah, Royal Joseph, Royal Levi, The royals of Elohim, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, the God of Shem, our Hebrew Messiah Yeshua, the Almighty God, Supreme of all humans. The Caucasian, White Hebrew, Israeli American Supreme Royal, the British American Supreme Royal, the Scandinavian Swedish American Supreme Royal, the Austrian American Supreme Royal, the Assyrian American Supreme Royal, the Macedonian Greek American Supreme Royal, the Italian American Supreme Royal, the French American Supreme Royal, the German American Supreme Royal, the Saudi Arabian American Supreme Royal, the Caucasian White Hebrew Israeli American Living Righteous Supreme Royal, Shem of all white ethnics, the Caucasian White Hebrew Israeli American Supreme Royal High Priest Kongarol, ruler of all nations in the universe, Elohim anointed, appointed, established, non-transferable. His Melchizedek, Dr. Mekbib, and PEMSTROJDEW ADGEHS at www.HEBRAIST.us. I have 58 titles.